Hari Om. We are today dealing with third mantra of the first section of chapter 2 of Mundaka. Before we proceed to examine this mantra, I would like to inform you that as we go deeper and deeper into the Upanishad studies, we come across more and more jargons employed by the teacher in the discourses. Upanishadic literature is replete with jargons, as we have seen earlier, and hence we must tune our mind and its attention to grasp the significance of these jargons so that we may understand the text better. From my side, within my limited capacity and ability, I assure you that I would put my best efforts to understand and explain the theme. I would request you also to kindly bestow greater attention and give your full heart and soul for this joint study of our scriptures. May He enlighten both of us. Now, from the previous stanza, a legitimate view may be formed in the listeners' minds that the Atman, the Self, the Supreme, the Reality, is a limited speck of energy powering our BMI equipment, and that the body, mind, intellect equipment is something other than the reality, like the matter that gets burnt away in the fire. Even though the arrow mark indications are contained in the previous mantras are normally clear to waft away or dispel this doubt, yet the Guru, in his infinite kindness to the Brahmana, is giving further word portraits to indicate sufficiently well that even the material burnt are nothing but the absolute. The body mind equipment in full measure is indeed that energy alone, but only conditioned by the respective equipment. In other words, the Shruti indicates that there is nothing, repeat, nothing that is not Him, the reality. There is no otherness. It is only Him. One devotee, it was told, asked Ramana Maharshi, Maharshi, what is the technique prescribed in the Shastras to deal softly with others? Maharshi thought for a moment and asked back the disciple, are there any others? The very poignant answer or question. There is no other. Everything is Him. So in the same way, the Rishi says, everything that you see in the world outside, you perceive, you feel or think, is nothing but Him. This is what he is trying to convey in that word portrait of the mantras. Now let us analyze the mantra. The mantra says, एतस्माद् जायते प्राणो मन सर्वेन्द्रियाणि च खं वायुर्ज्योतिराप पृथ्वी विश्वस्य धारिणी. This is the mantra. Ekasmad, meaning from that. From that means from that immortal, absolute reality. Jayate is born the following. What are those? Number one, prana, the vital air. Number two, mana, the mind, including intellect. Because mind and intellect are many at times referred to as one packet. So prana, number one. Number two, mana. The next, sarvendriyani, all indriyas, meaning the five sense organs of perception and the five sense organs of action, the five jnanendriyas and the five karmendriyas. So 5 plus 5, 10 plus 2, 12. All the five sense organs of action and the five organs of perception, jnanendriyas and karmendriyas. Cha means and, kham. Kham means the space. Vayu, the air. Jyoti, the fire. Aap, the water. And Prithvi, the earth, which is Vishwasya Dharini, which is a substratum of all things and beings, together called as Pancha Mahabhutas. These are the Pancha Mahabhutas. So the Pancha Mahabhutas, 5, 10 Indriyas, 15, Prana, 16, Mana, 17. So these are the 17 principles which has come out from the Brahman. So in all together there are 17 principles, or technically called as a jargon as tattvas. Let me repeat. The prana, the vital air, the mana and buddhi, the five sense organs of perception, the five sense organs of action, plus the five great elements. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2 equal to 17 principles. These 17 principles together constitute the Rupa Guna of the creation. The entire Rupa, form, Guna, qualities of the created are constituted of these 17 tattvas or principles. The Shastras declare that these 17 principles together constitute the essence of the entire creation. There is nothing other than the 17. Think. The topic is becoming more and more serious, so we have to apply our mind a bit more seriously. Now let us examine each of these. The prana. It is born out of him, which is the vital air that enlivens all inert and insentient matter. Once the prana leaves the body, it becomes a corpse. Shava, Jatha. Yadagata vayo dehapaye, said Shankara in Bhajagovindam. When the vayu goes away from the body, it becomes a shava and nobody cares for it. The mind intellect equipment is also born out of him. It is nothing other than him. It is certainly one of his manifestations. The lifeless tissues of the mind and intellect get enlivened, are capable of doing their functions, all because the speck of his grace is acting upon this mind and indriyas, the mind and the buddhi. This mind and the buddhi are also born out of him. The five jnanendriyas, comprising of Shotra, Chakshu, Sparshana and Rasana, Grana. The ears, the eyes, the skin, the tongue and the nose are also his manifestations. The five karmendriyas, Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Upastha. The speech, represented by the tongue, hands, legs, rectum and genitals. These are the five organs of action. Please note here that the tongue has two portfolios. One as a jnanendriya under the taste ministry, and the second one under the karmendriyas as a talk ministry. So he is holding the portfolio of two ministries. Therefore, wise people say, be careful with your tongue. So these jnanendriyas and karmendriyas are also born out of him. The next five are the great Panchabhutas, the five great elements: the fire, the space, the earth, the water and the air. These principles also come from him. Thus in all, the 17 principles that constitute the punch of creation have come from him. Remember, nothing can ever come from nothing. Isn't it? Nothing can come from nothing. So if these things are manifest, if you are able to perceive, if you are able to feel, if you are able to think, which are all objects, if you can broadly classify it as objects, it has to be created, and the creator has to be somebody. And that the Rishi says, it is the Supreme Self from where it has come. Now, with a view to make this concept more explicit, the Upanishadic literature or the Vedanta normally takes the example of a piece of cloth, carefully, a piece of cloth on which certain patterns and designs are woven using the same thread as is used for the manufacture of the cloth. Using the same thread which was used for the manufacture of the cloth, the same thread is used to create certain patterns and designs on the cloth. I think in modern textile terminology it is called as self-design. Now let us understand the example clearly. If you see the cloth in its finished and marketable form, the forms, the names, the designs, the patterns, etc., found on it are true and apparent. There is a design of a lion, the design of a tiger, the design of a flower, the pattern of something. It is true, it is apparent that I am seeing all these things differently. But when we start pulling each and every thread from the cloth, we will observe that the names, forms, patterns, and designs merge themselves to the bundle of threads so drawn out from the cloth. You draw the thread, each thread from the cloth, from the warp and weft. And when you withdraw these threads from there, the patterns, the designs, the what do you call that, names and forms attributed to it earlier are all merged. Where? Merged into the thread. And it gets deposited, as it were, or merges, as it were, into the bundle of thread. Think. Again, if the threads so drawn from the designed cloth are again unwound, the thread is again unwound. What remains is a mass of cotton. The thread, the form of thread is lost and merged with a mass of cotton. Therefore, it does not need a super intellect to come to a natural and consequential conclusion that the names, forms, designs and patterns, etc. on the piece of cloth, including the very cloth piece itself, were nothing other than the cotton, and they were in truth a seeming modification of the primordial cotton. No doubt the cloth, the pattern, the design, etc. all did exist, but the reality was cotton. The various manifestations of cotton were therefore unreal or a mithya. Therefore, Brahma Sutra roared that Brahman alone is the truth and the Jagat, the created ones, are a mithya. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya is a sutra of the Brahma Sutras. So we stop for today. Please mull over the previous mantras together with that of today and keep your mind ready, fit as a fiddle for tomorrow's topic, which will perhaps contain greater jargons, greater understanding is therefore required. And when you need a greater understanding, a calmer mind is required. A mind that can contemplate is required. So in a calm, serene atmosphere, you have to sit and then tune your mind to the teachings of the rishis. Then definitely we will be able to get the desired results out of this. Hari Om.